Hello, everybody. Today, I'm going to be talking about something a lot of us feel uncomfortable talking about. And I promise, it won't be that painful. I want us to acknowledge this word behind me, because it often gets ignored, and so we avoid talking about it altogether. So what I'm proposing is, we start talking and we have those conversations about race. And we do that by asking each other those uncomfortable questions, because these are opportunities for us to connect on a much deeper and a more human level. Conversation is the first step to change. My name is Pam Jew, and judging by the way that I look, where do you think I'm from? Take a guess. Maybe Vietnam, Thailand, China. Don't worry, I've heard it all. And I'm sure many of you have experienced this question. Someone would come up to me and ask me, "So where are you from?" And I would say, "Well, I'm from California." Wouldn't really think much about it. And then there would be a follow-up question. "No, where are you really from?" And this question used to offend me. But as I got older, I started to have fun with it. And I would say, "Well, I'm really from Palo Alto." And I would sometimes get a nervous laugh. But once in a while, someone would ask me, "Why are you offended by this?" And I appreciated that question. And I would say, "Well, I'm offended because it makes me feel like it's impossible to look like this and still be considered American." And it opened up this conversation about race. And we learned from each other's experiences, and we connected. We all know that racism is huge, it's complicated. It occurs within our culture, what we see in the media. It exists in our institutions, where we work, where we go to school. And it trickles down to the individual. We learn by what we see and how we interact with our environment and with each other. So it's even more important that we have these conversations, because when we start hearing each other's stories, it gives us a much richer picture of the complexities of race, and it builds empathy, and we start connecting. I created 20 questions, specifically for college students who want to learn and talk about race. Students of different racial backgrounds are connected to each other, where they can talk about these uncomfortable issues anonymously. It's kind of like that game, 20 Questions, you play with your friends. But instead of guessing what they're thinking, you're getting to know a stranger in 20 questions. College is a transition into adulthood. Students come from very diverse backgrounds. They're willing to meet strangers, and they're open to changing their perspectives. But sometimes it's difficult to have these uncomfortable conversations face to face. Sometimes it's easier when it's done anonymously. So before getting to those uncomfortable questions, students get to know each other through a series of 20 questions without knowing what the other person looks like. The experience starts out general, but as they progress further, the questions become more personal. And this is key and fundamental when building a foundation of honesty and trust, because when they start sharing their personal stories, intimacy is being developed in the relationship, and they feel more comfortable in taking the risks and making the mistakes. It begins with each student taking a picture of an object that represents their culture. They add a caption, and they submit it into the application. And afterwards, they can browse other students' photos. And if they're interested in a photo, they can star it. And if two students star each other's photos, they get matched, and they can start talking. The application suggests questions for the students, but it's ultimately up to them to pick the questions they want to ask. The questions in the beginning start to build this foundation, and as they progress through it, it encourages them to open up to each other. And when they start to feel comfortable, they finally reveal themselves. And it gives them time to reflect on their conversation and assumptions they had about each other. And finally, when that foundation is built, the questions become race-related, and they're given the chance to share their racial experiences. So now there's this opportunity for them to take the conversation offline and have it face-to-face and develop their relationship. And I believe that this is just the beginning. This is a tool that can be used in any type of difficult conversation. It can bridge gaps between different genders, religions, political views. It could be used in the workplace, in schools, in our neighborhoods. Conversations have the power to make us more aware of our behaviors that ultimately lead to us changing our behaviors, and that changes the environment that we live in. But it's going to take everyone to be part of this conversation, no matter what color you are. And 20 Questions provides that platform where we can ask each other these uncomfortable questions and connect with one another. So I encourage you all to lean into the discomfort and start engaging in conversations about race. Thank you.